Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is August the 19th, 2026, Wednesday. Just checking my mic here. Finally got my mic and my. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is August the 19th, 2026, Wednesday. Just checking my mic here. Finally got my mic and my camera going the way I'd like. So just bear with me. Just in case the volume's off or the picture's off, but we should be good. But I'll get it tweaked up the next few days. Um, just a little bit late to the stream, but we're doing good. I got my 8 a.m. highs marked out, 8 a.m. lows. We swept our lows. Kind of blew right past this order block that I tentatively had there. We swept our London low, swept Asia low. So now if we're going to continue to be bullish, because I am bullish on the day, I do have my GEX levels. We smashed past that put wall. We were looking like we were going to shoot above on pre-market, but right now I may be looking for a continuation to the downside. If we don't see a reversal soon, we're at the 950 macro, looking for some sort of reversal here. So I'm going to look for the higher time frame. We tapped in to that daily inefficiency. We also are in a weekly inefficiency as well. We still have some more to the downside to get into that weekly inefficiency, so we could see some more bearish prices. But on the daily, which is, I don't understand why my FEG is not in there. My daily. Okay, so we're gonna go this one to that. There we go. Boom. So I'm gonna mark out my daily FEG here. Okay. So we're in our daily. We inverted this small daily fair value gap here. So let's see what we have. That's we're in our daily inefficiency there. Now, what I'm doing, I'm looking for a higher time frame inefficiency that we can inverse. So we have this 15-minute here. We kind of blew past our 15-minute OB here. Kind of wick past it. Probably won't body below it, but we hit those Asia lows. All right, so let's look at the 5-minute, see if we got any inefficiency. So we got a nice 5-minute here. Got a nice 5-minute. So if we inverse this 5-minute, I'd be confident in getting into some longs. Let's see what we got here. There's also a 3-minute there. A 2-minute. So this is our 1-minute. This is our first presented fair value gap here. Here's a 1-minute here. So I'm going to bank on us breaking that 5-minute, inversing that 5-minute, just because we had such a push to the downside. It's a nice bottom wick on that 15-minute. Got about 2 minutes left on this 15-minute candle. If we end up inversing this 1-minute, I may jump in at price just to get a good position, maybe a small 2 micros, even 1 micro just to gain position, and then wait for that 5-minute inversion to add. We're seeing some good reaction at that area of interest, that 1-minute area of interest. This is our 5-minute FEG there. So being as though we're reacting within this 1-minute FEG, once we inverse that finally, I'm going to jab that with maybe 2 micros just to get us in there. But I want to see a body closure above this 1-minute here. Then we'll possibly jump into a long. Being as though we've already swept those ADM lows, we hit some key levels being London low and Asia low. And we're seeing some good reaction at that area of interest there. So soon as we close above that area, I'm going to jump in. We're going to jump in with the 2 micros. Then we're going to wait for that 5-minute inversion and add. But you can see that we're continuing to reject that area there. And that's a good thing. I like to see reactions at that area. That means that's a key level. That's a key area of interest. So once we finally break through that area, it would be of importance. So as of now, we could see a 2022 buy model here where we have a smart money reversal. Don't have any gaps. This is our first gap here. This could be our order block. And as though, well, tentatively, once we break this high here, this order block would be much more valid. We're looking for NASDAQ to find some support. Let's see where we get that area of support there. Go to the higher time frames. We got a nice lower wick on that 15-minute. Let's see how far we retrace down. Generally, I like to see it not go past consummate encroachment of that prior wick. So we're into this higher time frame inefficiency, being that daily and weekly. This is a weekly FEG. We're going to extend it because I just like to see, when I extend it, I can see my markings. That's a weekly FEG. So consummate encroachment of that fair value gap is down here. So we do have some room to the downside if price wanted to continue down. This is, of course, on a broader spectrum. So, but on the intraday levels, we're just looking for this to be a small pullback into this area. But if it wants to continue down into, we have a bearish weekly candle here with a top wick. So we very well could see price go down into consummate encroachment of this weekly fair value gap. We have a bullish order block here, starting here. So it could go back down into here, just wick down into this order block before going up. That could very well happen. It's Wednesday. So will we see it this week? Maybe not so far down here, but we could. Below consummate encroachment, I'd be looking for lower prices. So this is what we're going to see. If we start to see some break of structure to the upside or the downside, it kind of rejected off a midnight open there and pushed down. rejecting off of this area here, those 8 a.m. lows. So we'd like to see some inversions to the upside. If not, then we definitely are looking at some possible shorts. We are below our gamma flip area, which I introduced yesterday on the live stream. Those gamma levels, the put wall, which we kind of blew past there. So on the options market, we have those market movers and institutional investors putting those put orders in. That price was going to fall lower. We definitely hit that. Ideally, having hit that, we should be looking at a bounce to the upside, having filled those orders. But and as of now, and these are not real time. These are, these numbers change daily, but these are tentative. But the call wall and the put wall both moved lower since yesterday. Our call wall's here. Yesterday, it was way up here. So it's showing that the market's weaker. We're below gamma zero, so it's showing, that's where you see those wicks, showing a lot of instability, showing a lot of whipsawing. But tentatively, we're going to go with the momentum to the downside. So that's why we're going to see if we get a break below consummate encroachment and price starts to hold below there. That's what I'm going to start looking for, prices to the downside. And we're going to start to look at these lower prices. So I'm going to mark out from Asia low here to consummate encroachment there. So I'm going to mark out some levels there. So our next level would be consummate encroachment of that weekly inefficiency. We have daily inefficiency as well. So, matter of fact, let's mark it out to the daily. So from Asia low to consummate encroachment of this daily inefficiency, which would be a nice area of liquidity here, sell side. And I got too many. Here. I got minor sell side. Let's just put that there, just so we can mark it out. So we did break below consummate encroachment of that 4-hour wick. This was that 4-hour wick. We think then consummate encroachment inside of that inefficiency. This is a daily inefficiency here. So let's see how price holds up under there. And if we start to break structure to the down, which we did break structure here. And discount. That's a weak low that we're looking at there. Gotta break that low. So we broke structure to the downside. So now what I'm going to look at is some possible shorts. We have a 1 minute inefficiency here. So if we go back and retest this 1 minute, I'd be looking to get in. 9336. See how these levels were reacting right at that level? So that's why we got those Fibonacci levels there. Starting to pull back just a little bit there. Didn't quite pull back into that fair value gap. Just kind of pushing down. Let's see if we get a pullback into that 1 minute. You go right above these highs here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today, Monday, August 24th, 2026. So jumping right in. First of all, happy Monday. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. My weekend was pretty good. I went to church on Sunday. And I'm not over religious. I'm more of a spiritual person. But I do enjoy going to church on Sundays, kind of like a reset for me. The kids, they get their Sunday school teachings at the church. We go to a small church, very small. During the week it's a senior center, so they kind of set it up for church on Sundays, which is good, pretty good community. And it's a reset for me. I get to get that hour and a half of just me time, just me and my higher power. No kids crying, asking questions, and everyone's it's more of an energy thing for me. And it's good. So that's what I do. I'm not trying to sway anybody's beliefs or anything, but that's just for me. So my weekend was pretty good. Spent some time with the wife. We went shopping. Um, she's a business owner herself, so business has been pretty good for her. So kind of scares me sometimes because that debit card be smoking. I'm telling you, but she deserves it, so it's a good thing. So we had fun, responsible spending, but fun. So jumping right into the charts, we're looking like we're in a kind of a sell off here. I'll back us up all the way. Let's start at the top here at the monthly. So on our monthly chart here, overall, You know, the NASDAQ has been in a bullish trend overall. Um, we do have a monthly gap here. So what we're looking at, what I've looked at is that we have a bullish FEG right here. Sort of a top wick here on this monthly. Let's see if I can. So I'll hide that there. So we got kind of a top wick there on this monthly candle. Here we have that monthly gap that we kind of went up and tapped into, and then immediately rejected. I'm more or less anticipating that moving into September that will correct even a little bit more, maybe sweep this area here. I've got my notification set up there. Maybe sweep that area of liquidity here, that bottom wick, and then from there kind of push up. This is a monthly bullish order block. Could even see it go as far down as that. We've seen it in the past. We've tapped, you know, in the month of April. It was similar to that. So let's see if we can find. Let's see. So we're in 2020. So September 2025. This was September 2025. You know, so it was bullish going in. We had, you know, August was kind of indecisive, kind of up and down, and then opened above in September, kind of gave us a bottom wick and pushed up. Here we have kind of a different story here. It was kind of bearish going, you know, in July. Here in August, this is August, we may be seeing a similar situation as we did in last August, where we had that top wick, came a little bottom wick, and then here. So I'm anticipating maybe we come down, if not sweeping that bottom wick there, and then give us a nice top wick. I mean, a nice pullback, and then open it up into September for an expansion. May not go down as far as that, but I'm anticipating somewhat. We have a small bottom wick there, but somewhat sort of a bottom, more of a bottom wick, maybe this week before going up, and then that expansion into September. As far as the weekly, we also have a bullish fair value gap there. We have a bullish fair value gap in the weekly as well, kind of a little bit higher. So this is our weekly bullish fair value gap. So we have a bullish fair value gap here. We kind of tapped into it, tap below that area, and kind of, you know, pulling back. We also have a weekly order block there. So if we don't get down into that way down into that monthly, I could at least see us pulling down, you know, into this weekly order block, and then pushing back up, you know, putting us into September and shooting for those all-time highs. So on the daily here, so we have a daily fair value gap here, which we failed to tap into last week. I don't believe we'll get that far up in price today or even this week. I do anticipate a little spike at the open before heading down. We have this gap here that I'm looking to get filled. That's my draw on liquidity there. As for today, we have I put my GEX levels there. We have our put wall here, where those investors put those puts in. We have our calls way up here at the 30,000 mark. So we could possibly see price shoot down around this put wall here, closing up that gap, and then see some higher prices, and maybe even a little bit of back and forth before ultimately leading into next week we go for those all-time highs. That's just my humble opinion. That's what I'm looking at. So more on a immediate intraday level. I know I have a lot of levels marked out here, but they kind of get a little clearer once we open up here. So we have a 4-hour bearish fair value gap, which we tapped into and rejected immediately. Around 6 a.m. We got about 30 minutes left before we hit that new 4-hour mark. We got about 2 minutes left before the open. So I'm just anticipating a sweep of the highs here. A sweep of these 8 a.m. highs, maybe tap into the New York Open, then looking for some type of lower time frame IFEG to get into some shorts. So that's my plan for today. That's what we're looking at now. We're starting to see that spike before the open. So it's starting to kind of play out the way that we anticipated here. These are my OTE levels. These light blue marks here. So what I have here is I'll do my Fibonacci. This is the range. This is premium, and this is discount. So as we get into the premium, you'll see my my darker areas here. That's that OTE level there. So I kind of put this one's on the 15. So that's the 1 hour, and they tend to line up. So on the 15, we got about 30 seconds to the open. On the 15, I got we got this high and this low here. So we got this high and this low, and this is interior, so it kind of lines up here. And that's my OT. So I'm looking to sweep these highs, tap into that OTE area, maybe even New York Open, then look for some type of short. That's just an extra confluence for me. We're already starting to push down. So they kind of trap those early buyers in. So at the open, it looks like we got to push to the downside at the open. So got to push to the downside at the open. So being as though we push to the downside, I may be looking for some upside movements, which is we do have some upside targets here. We have our New York Open, we have our 8 a.m. highs, we have our London highs. So we may be looking for some longs here. Being as though we didn't push all the way up, we kind of created some engineered equal highs here, which is a good draw on liquidity. So I feel good about some longs. So let's look at some possible inversions. We just swept our London low, which is our key level. So we swept that 8 a.m. low, hit that London low, key level. Now we're starting to push. I just want to look at more of a confirmation. Let's try to inverse some sort of IFEG or build some structure to the upside before jumping into some longs. So we're starting to push up now. Don't want to jump in just yet. We didn't kind of inverse anything. Could be a small pullback. We got about 5 seconds left to this next 1 minute candle. So let's see if we can get some more structure to the upside. We have our first presented fair value gap. Here's our first presented FEG there. So let's see if we can at least get to consummate encroachment of that first presented fair value gap. Like I said, we still have this gap here, so we may see some lower prices. This put wall looking at more of a support. So we don't want to get trapped into some longs by jumping in too early. But we are starting to see volume slow up here. And it's starting to push down without any too much more push to the upside. I don't want to get into a short this far down in the leg. I'd much rather see some type of reversal indication to the upside. There's a lot of volatility here, but as we get farther down in the leg, we're starting to see some resistance, which is what we want to see. We just want to see where that level is, where those big institutional buyers are going to defend heavy, and that's when we'll see that big push to the upside, those big bottom wicks, and start to see some inversions of these gaps that were created on the way down. So our first presented and the 2 minute is about the same as far as, leaving gaps on the way down here. We've swept Asia low early pre-market. We just swept London low key level. Too much more besides that. Let's check some higher time frames here. See what we got. Let's see if we get some. So looking over to the left, just to see what we have here. All right, so we're starting to see some swing failure here on the 15 minute. And let's see if we can just get a little bit more structure to the upside. Let's check our 5 minutes, see if we got any gaps available. So this first 5 minute candle here, this is our new 5 minute candle. Starting to see these pin bars here on the 5 minute. Okay, let's check ES. So we have sort of a bullish SMT where NQ swept the lows where ES did not. So we see that the NASDAQ swept these lows here. ES failed to do so. So if we start to close these 5 minute candles and start to see some bullish sentiment to the upside, and that SMT holds, that's a good indication that we could be seeing higher prices. You have some higher targets here on the ES as well. Asia high, previous day high, London highs. We have New York open as well. So NQ is starting to push. So let's go down here. I used the 1 minute to get that sniper entry. We're using the higher time frames for more of a confirmation. Once we get confirmed on these higher time frames, I like to move to the lower time frame, the 1 minute, for that entry. But I'm already confirmed in which direction I want to go in. So we're not taking too much of a higher risk on those lower time frame entries. But we're actually playing off the 15. That's our core chart on intraday, looking at these candles. So we see that bottom wick on the 15. We got about 7 minutes left. I generally like to wait till this new 15-minute candle opens before jumping into some. By that time, we'd have built into, we at least have 3 5-minute candles built out, and more and more, we'd have 15 1-minute candles built out, showing what type of structure price is going in. So right now, it looks like on the 1 minute, we had a bearish opening with a pullback, a lower high. If we break this low, that would be considered the lower high, and then pushing down. So right now we're looking quite bearish on this 1 minute. But again, I don't want to jump into a short just because that's what we're seeing here at the open. We're still in the manipulation leg. If that's what the NQ is planning this morning, we're still in that manipulation phase before we get into that distribution. So we had accumulation, looking at manipulation, and then hopefully distribution, or we could just see a continuation model to the downside. So we'll see. We'll know better once we get to this area of support. If we are in a continuation to the downside, I'd be looking for a healthy pullback, a rejection of some significant higher time frame PD array, and then continuation to the downside before getting into a continuation short. Other than that, I'm looking for that pullback into these 8 a.m. highs, New York open, London highs. And then if we're going to continue down, then let price continue on down. We have Friday's closing price all the way up here at the 29,378. So we have that as well. Although when we opened on Sunday, it kind of closed that gap between Friday. But I like to also keep in mind that Monday is our regular trading hours. So I kind of look for that as well. We're starting to reject off this 1 minute fair value gap here. So if you're scalping, you could very well see confirmation enough to go into a short scalp. That's just not my model. I want to build good habits here. I don't want to start jumping into trades that doesn't fit my strategy, my model. But from what I know, just from knowing price action, rejections off this bearish fair value gap, and being below these moving averages is bearish confirmation to more prices to the downside. But as you can see, it's starting to slow up, and we're starting to see areas of support here where buyers are starting to defend, where sellers are starting to take profit. And so as sellers start to take profit and buyers step in, then we're starting to look at prices moving to the upside. We put our gamma flip there. It's kind of changed a little bit there. Our put wall is still about the same. Call wall hasn't changed. $30,000. Yeah. So our call and put wall Pretty much the same. Gamma flip or gamma zero has changed just a little bit. We're still below gamma zero, which means a continuation uh, of the trend, more amplified moves. So that's what we're seeing here. So shorts, wouldn't be wrong, especially here at the open. Looking at what we have here, I just looking at the more higher probability trades. So at this point, I really just don't know when price is going to reverse. I do know we're setting up for a pullback, so I don't want to jump into a trade where price could reverse at any moment or any level there. So we'll let this market play out. So we're getting close to that put wall, that support area. So we're starting to close up that gap. I knew this was a major draw. I was hoping that we pushed up at the open and then pulled down into this gap area, but the market decided to close this gap first. Push that. Now we're approaching that put wall, which is a tentative area of support for price, where a lot of options trades are taking profit. But it looks like it's pushing through quite well with some volume. So now we're starting to get into this weekly order block. So let's see if we tap down into here. In the beginning of the stream, we talked about price pulling down into this weekly order block and then maybe seeing some type of pullback. So this may be the area where price wants to pull back. So here on the weekly, let's see, we still got about 200 points there till we get to that weekly order block. We may not hit it, but that could be a possible target. 2765. So we're starting to see a little pullback here. So now if we go down here to the 1 minute, we're starting to see a pullback into this first simple moving average. This is our 8 moving average. There's also a 1 minute bearish gap here. Just because it inverts this gap isn't too significant. It is an indication. But when we look at these fair value gaps, I'd much rather look at this fair value gap, because this fair value gap is what went down and broke a low. So once I see those fair value gaps that that do something, that actually create some type of effect, these are the fair value gaps I tend to pay attention to. This fair value gap here also broke a low. So once we start to get up into here and start to invert, that's when, we'll start to look at some possible indications of going long here. But even this one here, we haven't inverted yet. Looks like it's starting to push up. Let's just see how well we go here. So let's go into the 2 minute. The higher the time frame and the gap that it inverts, the better. So we'll look at this 2 minute. I like this 2 minute here. If we and I don't have one thing here. So we got a 2 minute FEG here. If we invert this 2 minute, I'd be interested. Kind of inverted this 1 minute just a little bit, but you see it pulling back. ES is looking strong here. Starting to see that V-shaped recovery there on ES. Here, NQ is a little bit weaker, so it's kind of starting to create that V-shape, but we see that pullback. ES is not as weak, but a similar price action. So I graded out this area between our weekly bullish order block and that gamma area put wall, where it tentatively creates a support area. So as we get down to these graded areas, that'll show me if we're starting to, where we are, and the probability of a continuation to the downside. So let's see here on the 2 minute and see if we can't get some type of inversion there on that 2 minute. So we see we're hanging around that put wall area, that area of support. It's kind of start to slow up. So we closed out that gap there, which was a great draw on liquidity. I just wish that our model would have showed up and we would have swept those highs first and then go down. But be as it may, it looks like it completed its task of completing that gap, and now it kind of wants to go up after investors are taking profits and buyers are stepping in. Let's see here. So on the 15-minute candle, you see some indecision here. Starting to see a big top wick there, sort of a smaller bottom wick. I like to see a bigger bottom wick there. We got about 7 minutes left on that 15-minute candle. Want to see kind of a swing rejection area there. Let's see on the 1 hour. It's starting to create a bottom wick there. So this new hourly candle, as we get into this 950 macro, let's see if this new hourly candle can give us some sort of a bottom wick and then a push to the upside. That's a big bearish first hourly candle there. So right now we haven't gotten into any trades because we haven't tapped into any higher time frame PD arrays. We haven't tapped into any higher time frame PD arrays. Haven't got any buy side liquidity swept, or any indication that move to the downside is the trade to be into right now, other than simply FOMO. So it's no doubt that price is moving lower, but besides that, what was the indication that we were going lower? We had none. So, but we are creating those PD arrays, and liquidity has been swept on the sell side. So once we start to invert towards the buy side and go for that buy side, then we'd have reason to get into some longs. But right now it's just a time where we just sit and wait. So let's mark out this high here. So starting to see some push to the upside. I want to see an inversion of this 2-minute fair value gap. This is a 1 minute down here. Kind of bouncing around that area. We are above consummate encroachment of that 1 minute. That 1 minute fair value gap. I'll get rid of that. Try to clean up a little bit here. We close that gap there. So let's get rid of that there. This is our first presented. So we'll kind of keep that going there. Starting to trade above that consummate encroachment of that 1 minute fair value gap and bouncing up. I like to see a break of this high first We are above that 20 simple moving average. About 7 minutes into that 950 macro. Let's see if price wants to deliver to the upside. So Nvidia had about a 2.5% flush to the downside at the open, which pretty much caused the Nasdaq to sell off like it did. So right now it's kind of consolidating. So we're either going to see a big push to the upside or a big push to the downside as we get into this new hourly candle. So we're breaking those highs there. This is a 1 minute. We also have our 1 minute gap. This is our 2 minute gap. So being as though it's there. Here's a 5 minute. So if we really want to, let's see if we get our 5 minute. So we get an inversion of that 5 minute. That's what we're looking at. Get into some longs. Right now we're consolidating right around that area. You can see it better on. So it looks, could be getting into sort of like a bear flag here, where it kind of pulls back and then shoots down. So we're just kind of waiting it out here. Just consolidating around that area. We got our new hourly candle here. So we got a nice bottom wick on that hourly candle. Look at a swing failure here. Started out with a bottom wick here on this new hourly candle. So this is here on the 5 minute. After this pullback, starting to see a little push, rejecting off of this 5 minute fair value gap. A lot of consolidation here on the 1 minute. So we're either gonna look at this delivery to the downside, or we're gonna see a rejection and a push to the upside. You see these bottom candles, these bottom wick candles, these bottom wicks on this candle here, and there we go. Then that's that push to the downside. So we may deliver to the downside on that 10-10. Starting to see more push to the downside. So just looking at price action, you kind of want to FOMO into a short here, into that low. But as far as remaining disciplined and probability goes, that's just not the trade I want to get into. We have another 1 minute bearish fair value gap that is kind of rejecting off of here. And as we approach that 10-10, we got about 5 minutes to that 10-10 macro to the end where we'll see full price delivery. So we could very well see it go down into these lows and then push to the upside. But be as it may, everything is saying shorts. It just hasn't satisfied my criteria to get into a short, which is a sweep of a buy side liquidity, tap into a higher time frame PD array, and an inversion of a lower time frame fair value gap. So if a good majority of any of those confluences are met, we can attempt to jump in. But as of now, it just hasn't been. We had a small sweep of these highs here. But overall, it's just basically in a range, consolidating here at the bottom of this support area here, this zone. So being in this zone, you could see price want to deliver higher or continue lower. So until we break out of this zone, you really don't have a high probability trade. So I may want to try jumping into a short, again, as though we did sweep these highs and pushing down. May have been too late. Starting to get about 2 minutes left till we get into these lows. We're getting into an area of resistance there, so I'm just gonna hold off. I want to kind of shoot for lower day, a small scalp here. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit too low for me now. Kind of a little bit too low for me. I wanted to get in at maybe that 29,000 mark. Maybe get in up here. But being as though we're down here. Yeah, so we may see a strong push down to sweep these session lows. But then again, it could leave these session lows open, and we could be pushing to the upside. So I just don't want to take that chance. I've already accepted the fact that if we sweep these lows, I'm not going to say, man, I should have took that trade. I'm not going to do that. You see all this resistance here. So this area is being defended quite well. $28. Let's see. So my first area that I anticipated pricing was 28,773 on the pull down. Well, no, 29,139. So it looks like we are going to maybe push down and get those lows. So 29,139. Yeah. So I anticipated price to get down to the 700s. Maybe push back up, then come back down. And that's much more or less on a weekly level. So be as it may, a target here would be the 700s. So I'm looking for price to get down into here as far as the week is concerned. Intraday, we may see a lot of back and forth. I'm talking about 14 points to the downside. Yeah. 18, about 20 points. And that's that pullback. See, if you get into a short there, I just can't stand that volatility getting into drawdown. So that's why size is important. So getting in, I would only get in at maybe about 2 or 3 micros on a 50K account, eval account. So we continue to reject off of that fair value gap. That's that put wall is now becoming resistance. This is that 15-minute candle. We're above the bottom range of that 15-minute candle, rejecting off. We marked the bottom of that 15-minute range there. So we're just going to be patient here. And maybe trying to trap us into getting into some shorts. It's bouncing off that 2900 area again. Kind of created some engineered lows here. So price may want to sweep these lows. The more lows that it creates and engineers, looks like it may be setting up for a long. So we're just going to be patient. These right here will be considered relative equal lows. They're not equal, but they're relatively equal. but there's a lot of liquidity there for people trying to bottom tick, early buyers jumping in here. But the more of these lows that are engineered, it tells me that there's a possible big move to the upside being generated. So one piece of advice that I picked up this week is that experienced traders, they look for that small range. So right now we're in that small range because smaller ranges lead into big ranges. So it's kind of like that tick tick boom scenario. So right now we're in a smaller range. So be as it may, this small range is going to eventually lead to a big range, to a big move, whether it be to the upside or the downside, and that's what we're looking for. In the 5 minute, that small tight range. All right, so we're below equilibrium here in our dealing range. We got our premium swing high and our discount swing low here. So an inversion of this 5 minute would still give us a justifiable cause to get into some longs being below equilibrium of the dealing range. Targets being these 8 a.m. highs, New York highs, London highs, and Friday settlement. So we have some viable targets to the upside. So as we climb higher, let's see if we can get an inversion of this 5 minute. It's good. I'd like to see us come back up to that previous area where we broke those highs. It's kind of was like a small indication, and we corrected. Now we would like to see a continuation to the upside. kind of like uh, closed eye, long blink meditation there. If you see me zoning out for a second, trying to visualize price going to the upside. So, and we see strong reactions here at this 5 minute gap. So once we start to play above into constant encroachment and eventually inverse this 5 minute, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day. So an inversion of this 5 minute would be big. I'm getting into some longs there. So on this Monday, um, may not see us take a trade on this AM session. I'm perfectly fine with that. So discipline is part of our strategy here, and our it's part of our arsenal. You have to have the strategy works for most traders. It's not the strategy or their plan as much as it is the mindset. So you'll see most traders say, "Take, 4 or 5 years, I was profitable," and it wasn't that anything changed except for in 4 or 5 years your mindset shifted, and that's how long it took for to gain that discipline, to get used to seeing those numbers, to adjusting what needed to be adjusted, and then you started to execute more efficiently. So for me, discipline has played a big part. I tend to oversize a lot, especially when I get to the part where I'm about to pass an eval, and I kind of just want to get it over with. I'll try to double my size and that's what it kills me. I'll spend 2-3 weeks, green days, green weeks, and then one day, it just I increased my size, and the volatility is so crazy that it just blows the account in one day. So for me, that's one thing that I've been working on is my discipline, and being consistent, being patient, and trusting the process. They're starting to see some little bit of volume step in here. We're in about 100-point range here. This is where we've been since about 9:45. Got a high area of resistance here around this 948 area. It's about a 30-point zone right there that they're defending. Yeah, we're starting to push up. Broke this high, starting to push to the upside. May starting to see what we're looking for here. So we're getting into about 50% or constant encroachment of this 5-minute gap. So it may be starting to look into jab into a possible long here. I really want to, got about a minute till we get to that 5-minute fair value gap. Do about 30 seconds if we get one looking for the invert. So there's our 1 minute. So we did invert that 5 minute. Looking at this pullback. Starting to push higher, waiting for a price to maybe pull down into here. And we still may pull down. So we may see price start to push down. You're going to see a little consolidation here right after a break of these, an inversion of this 5 minute. This is an area of interest here. So as before we stated, this gap was created with a break of this low. So once we invert this 1 minute here, that would be nice proper confluence of higher prices, which we'd like to see. So we're starting to see just a little bit of resistance here because this is a bearish 1 minute order block. Being as though it didn't tap into this and shoot directly down, meaning that it's not that strong. So we could see it continue to test that area and eventually break above it, getting this low resistance liquidity, this trend line liquidity here. Because at the tip of these wicks are areas of liquidity. Stop losses are being placed at these areas. We're starting to break up into this 1 minute FEG. I want to see that invert. We've already inverted the 5 minute. We had an accumulation here, and we're starting to push up. So we got our buy limit here to see if it taps us in, retesting this 5 minute, sweeping this area of liquidity here, and then before pushing back up. So we are at equilibrium of the dealing range. I want to kind of see it break above and shoot higher. So typically when you're in that dealing range, you see the pullback to 50%. And then, if it's going to continue lower, you start to see it push lower. That's why we put our buy limit here to see if that's the case. So right now, what I'll do is I'll mark out, we'll go this low here and here, and we'll see how far down it goes before it wants to push back up, if it does push back up. So if we start to get below this 50% area, which is constant encroachment of this 5 minute gap, if we start to get below that area, then that's not a good indication, bullish indication. But if we stay above constant encroachment of this 5 minute fair value gap and continue to push higher, that's good indication that we're going to see higher prices. As we start to look here, you see these relative equal lows, which is a major draw on liquidity there. So that's why we're going to keep our buy limit here. If it taps us in, get below this area of liquidity here, that bottom wick. seeing some resistance here at equilibrium. But typically we swept these interior highs and tapped into this 1 minute. And these last two up close candles here tapped in. But we didn't see a big violent push to the downside as you would expect if we wanted to continue lower. So that being said, that's what gives us confidence that we're going to see higher prices. If anything, I'm thinking we may sweep this interior liquidity here before heading higher. But I'd really like to see an inversion of this 1 minute. So we're starting to push above here. Starting to see some energy as we approach this 1050 macro. So will we see a sweep of these lows before going higher? If not, we'll look for a re-entry above this 1 minute. We'll look for an entry above that 1 minute there. Just above constant encroachment of that 1 minute gap. I want to see a break and a body close above. Now 30 seconds till we get to that 1050 macro. See what we're looking at on the 5 minute. You see these top wicks on these 15-minute candles here. Yeah, so we see right at the tip of this 1 minute, you see rejection there. So once we get above and a break in a body close above there, it's good that's a good bullish indication. I'm gonna put us here, right at those lows. All right, just being patient here, waiting to see if we can get an inversion of this 1 minute FEG. Kind of diddle daddling around there. About 4 minutes into that 1050 macro. All right, to sign for a package there. It looks like we're going to continue higher. Just waiting to see if we get a small pullback. We're starting to see that pullback. Just want to see how far down it goes. I think it may pull back into this area, that 5-minute gap. Really tap us in. And this is our trading view paper trading account here. I do have my Lucid account. So whenever we take our trade on our Lucid account, I will show what we have there. If we do this, I do the trading view, for visual, but I will pull up my my Lucid account, showing that we are putting on we do have some actual skin in the game. I used to have my Lucid account and TradeAvate connected to TradingView, but I noticed there's a lot of lag with the executions, so I just rather take my executions on TradeAvate. It gives me better fills. So on this 1 minute, what we're seeing is these relative equal lows. So in theory, what you're doing is you're sweeping the sell side, and then we're going for buy side, essentially. So in this range, in this micro range, we're sweeping sell side liquidity, and we're looking to get into, and we're aiming towards targeting buy side on the micro scale. On the macro, this is where we've inversed this 5-minute. We've swept sell side down here, inversed this 5-minute, and now we're retesting. Looks like we're coming back in to tap us in, and it just tapped us in on the 5-minute retest. Just below that low there. Got our first TP there. And this may be a trade that we hold well into the PM session. Even though it tapped us in here, it could very well come down into consummate encroachment of this 5-minute before moving higher. If it gets anywhere below that area, then, you know, we'd start to, we'd have to rethink. This is a 1 minute FEG. We could even come down into this 1 minute and tap up. So we did come down and retest this 5 minute inversion. Just looking to see how far down we go into this pullback before price wants to continue higher. If that be the case, we see these top wicks on these 15-minute candles. And this is our 1 minute fair value gap. So this is a major area of interest here. So once we start to body above this area, we should see smoother price action to the upside. Want to see if we get down to this area here. This is that last down close candle before we start to see some upside. Could even go down to this one here. Let me see, let's mark out some areas here. So we're gonna go down. Let's see, where do I want to go? Let's go down to the bottom of this range here. See where we are. Boom. There's our OTE area here. 062. Yeah, so, and it lines up perfectly with this last down close candle on the 5 minute. We could see it pull down. We're still in premium, so if we pull down below this 50% mark, maybe into our OTE, and start to see some rejection, as we did invert that 5 minute, but we also have a bullish fair value gap. So this is a 50% retracement that we're looking at on this 5 minute. 29.030. 29.030, which lines up also with our 1 minute fair value gap there. So everything's kind of lining up here. So let's see if we get this, if this pullback gets us down into this 1 minute fair value gap, which lines up with a 5 minute with 50% of that, of this range. And then you start to see a rejection. So a 50% pullback and a rejection is healthy for higher prices. Check this hourly and the bottom wick on that new 1 hour candle. I got these double pen bars here. So we inverse this 5 minute here. We also have a bullish 5 minute gap here. And we're testing consummate encroachment of that gap there. And it's rejecting off of that consummate encroachment of that 5 minute bullish fair value gap that was left behind on the way up. That was our 5 minute inversion. So we measured our leg here. So we haven't quite got into 50% of that leg and starting to see rejection, which is good. So now we're just looking for some bullish confirmation. We're starting to see that push to the upside that we're looking for. So we're getting into there. Looking into getting, that's that 1 minute order block. Kind of agree. Once we break past that, once we break above this area here and body close, we have created a 1 minute order block that we're looking to get into. So let's see if we can get some body closures above there. It's good that we've seen some rejection and push to the upside. Let's measure this here, see where we are. So we're in this trade. It tapped us in on the retest of that 5 minute inversion. Waiting to see if we can get above. I really want to get above this 1 minute here with a body closure. This would be our 1 minute order block here. If we can get a break and a close above there, we wicked above it, showing some indication of wanting to go higher. But we had an immediate rejection. So we have this 1 minute FEG here and order block, which is good. So I want to see us get above that area there. So I feel good about it tapping us into this short on our trading view. Paper trade account here. I haven't gotten into my Lucid account yet. I haven't taken that, hadn't gotten into that trade yet. Simply because, I mean, I'm trading a mini on here with higher, able to withstand some drawdown on the Lucid account. Really don't want to get into too much drawdown there, so I was waiting for this pullback, which we got to almost 50% of this range, pullback and a rejection. I just want to see a close above this 1 minute fair value gap, creating this 1 minute order block, showing us more confirmation that we're going to continue to the upside after that pullback. And then I'll jump into that trade on the Lucid account. So we came wicked right into that bearish 1 minute fair value gap and immediately pushed down. Started to show some indication that it wanted to go higher. Now we're kind of just hanging around this area here. We're currently inside this 5 minute inefficiency. This is a 5 minute inefficiency here. So at the moment, really not, price isn't really doing much. It's about 11:20. Give it about 10 more minutes here, and I'll go ahead and end the stream. But I'll hold this trade on TradingView. I haven't entered into our Lucid account yet, simply because I'd be taking a lot less risk, maybe 2 or 3 micros as opposed to 1 mini here. So don't really want to take too much drawdown. We can withstand this drawdown here. I feel good about the direction we're going. It's about 50% of the range is pulling back into constant encroachment of this 5 minute bullish fair value gap. But once we start to, as long as we continue to hang out above constant encroachment, and then once we get a body closure above this 1 minute, I'd be looking for higher prices on all accounts. So for visual purposes, we're in this long, based off the inversion of that 5 minute fair value gap here. So once we inverted there, we got into that long. We waited for it to come down and tap us in, and it came down and tapped us in with a limit order, kind of going just a little bit further down, constant encroachment of this 5 minute bullish fair value gap that was created on the way up. And now we're just waiting for price to finish its pullback, its manipulation phase, and give us a distribution to the upside. It could be before that lunchtime hour, but of course volume starts to slow up around that time. So if I'm not in a trade by then, I really Not looking to get into anything if I don't come back towards the end of the day. But if we measure out this leg here, we still haven't hit 50% of that pullback, which is good, because once we get close to there, it's kind of rejecting, which is indicating higher prices. So yeah, we're just looking to see if we can get some type of bullish confirmation, namely an inversion of this 1 minute here. In this era of volatility that we're in with NQ, I simply use the 1 minute chart for entries, placing stop losses and getting sniper entries. But I'll really look at the 5 minute and the 15 minute to see where we are. I like that nice bottom wick on the 5 minute, rejection off constant encroachment of that area there, showing some nice aggression to the upside. So now, be as it may, I'll look at this 1 minute. We get a body closure above there. That's when I be looking to enter on my Lucid accounts. Starting to get some good displacement, good expansion. Back at our entry. But every time we get into that area, we start to see it push down. And it looks like the resistance is getting lower where it was here. Now we're seeing it here. And we're starting to see it fight back. I wanted to get above constant encroachment. Let's start bodying above constant encroachment. We're starting to see some expansion there. That's exactly what we wanted to see. We're starting to see a pullback and a retest of this 1 minute. Nice reaction off that 1 minute fair value gap. Starting to get into an area of resistance here. There's a lot of resistance in this area. That's that 1 minute. We wanted to see invert from way back here. So I'll probably bring our, well, I plan on holding this trade a little longer here on this account. But these equal highs would be a better. Well, I guess this would be our first presented. I had this mixed up here. This would be our first presented FEG here. Oh, look at that push there. It's a nice push. That's the volatility we wanted to see there. Nice push to the upside. Okay, we invert this, our first presented fair value gap here. Got a new candle there. We're currently up on our long here, kind of getting some reaction off of our VWAP. So we start to break above VWAP, that'd be good. Starting to push, kind of stuck between our 200 and our VWAP. See if we can't get a nice pop to the top there. So I got in on that inversion of our first presented fair value gap on my Trade account here. I'll just pull it up to show the clarity. So we're up like we're at 129 here. Of course, I'm just trading micros on this account. But I want to hold out higher. But whereas we approach that 11:30, we are past that 11:30 mark. I'm gonna hold out this trade here, this long on our TradingView account. But I'm gonna go ahead and close out the stream, and I will keep you updated on how this trade went. But as for now, we'll just go ahead and close the stream for the day. Good trading. Got a couple wins on a Monday, which is always good. But once again, thanks for joining. Hit that like and subscribe, and I will see everyone tomorrow.